We are kicking off with WWE, whose history is filled with entertaining moments and storylines which have become timeless, and every so often, WWE likes to pay homage to past events, as seen this week. During the July 15th edition of Raw, Rhea Ripley was furious at Liv Morgan's attempts to woo Dominic Mysterio, but was also angry with Dominic for seemingly accepting her advances. On the show, this culminated in Dominic following Rhea into her dressing room only to be thrown out, and then she threw flowers at him for good measure. Older fans with a good memory may recall that years ago, Chyna and Eddie Guerrero were in their own romantic storyline, and what we saw on Raw was first done by the Hall of Famers. The clip of Chyna and Guerrero went viral, along with Dom and Rhea's clip, and this is an interesting piece of history given that Eddie claimed in 2005 that Dominic was his son. Now it seems like we might be witnessing a like father like son situation, though Mysterio will be hoping for a better result with Rhea than what Eddie had with the ninth wonder of the world. What's your take on this angle on WWE television? Do you think it was an intentional homage to Chyna and Eddie Guerrero? Let us know what you think in the comments section. When she wasn't dealing with Dominic on this week's Raw, Rhea Ripley made clear she wants Liv Morgan, and a women's world title match has been set for SummerSlam next month. This will mark Ripley's first match since retaining that same title at WrestleMania 40 Saturday, and fans shouldn't expect to see her in the ring before then. PW Insider reports that there had been discussions on Ripley returning at SummerSlam or the night after, but the decision was made for her to come back and set up a match at the show. With that said, Ripley has not been fully cleared for physicality, but WWE anticipates that she will be cleared in time, and Rhea herself has expressed confidence that this will be the case. Rhea not being cleared explains why she hasn't had any physical interactions with Morgan or anyone else since returning last week, and she's not expected to wrestle until SummerSlam. Until then, WWE plans to tease her involvement and work around her clearance status without any physical engagements, and Rhea's character will do the heavy lifting for the time being. Over to NXT, and if you've seen Hendry make an entrance, you'll know his theme begins with "Say his name and he appears," and that was especially true on last night's broadcast. During the opening contest that saw Gallus take on the reunited Rascalz, Vic Joseph said Hendry's name, and sure enough, the popular TNA wrestling star appeared in NXT. Hendry joined the commentary team for the match, and in a backstage segment, the trio of Gallus said they were sick of hearing the name Hendry. At the mention of his name, Hendry once again appeared and made clear that while they may not want to see him, he'll be sticking around in NXT, adding that, "I like it here." Hendry has proven to be a massively popular act in NXT and TNA, and based off this week's show, those at NXT know all they have to do to summon the Scottish star. At WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes solidified his status as the new face of WWE when he dethroned Roman Reigns to win the undisputed WWE title in an emotional main event. This week, Rhodes hit 100 days as champion, and after retaining against AJ Styles and Logan Paul, Cody is eager to get back in the ring with a familiar adversary. On the Raw after WrestleMania, Rhodes was confronted by The Rock, who said that while he's going away for a while, he will be back, and that their story together is just getting started. Since then, there's been wide speculation about a potential match between them, and it was at Elimination Chamber Perth that Rhodes said he'd go one-on-one with The Rock any place, anytime. On the Insight podcast, Rhodes was asked about this and said his offer still stands, but added that if The Rock never wrestled again, he would be honored to have been a part of his last run. However, competing against him at WrestleMania Saturday made Rhodes realize that the final boss has much more left than gas in the tank, so is optimistic about their impending match. Neither The Rock nor Rhodes held back in their war earlier this year, either in the ring or in promos, and Rhodes admitted there was one promo from The Rock he felt crossed the line. The promo in question saw the final boss bring up that Dusty Rhodes had 2 children, Dustin and Kristen, from his first marriage, and said Cody must have been a mistake. Being branded a mistake was not what was the issue for Cody, but he was unhappy that the comment excluded his sister Teal, who he remains very close to this day. Rhodes felt bad for Teal and noted that their mother, Mama Rhodes, who never wanted to be in the spotlight, was now more involved due to increased attention. With that in mind, it's no wonder Cody is eager for his match with The Rock, which has at one point been reported as the plan for WrestleMania 41 in April 2025. With The Rock involved in his outside WWE endeavors right now, we'll have to wait and see if the Great One chooses to come back and battle Cody as he vowed on the post-Mania Raw. Do you think The Rock would return for a match against Cody Rhodes? Will the Dream Showdown finally happen in the near future? Sound off in the comments. More from NXT, as it was last week that Thea Hale earned a shot at the NXT Women's Championship with a hard-fought victory over Izzy Dane. This week, Roxanne Perez came face-to-face with her challenger and said the notion of the Chase U star being a threat to her was laughable, as Hale is still a little girl. This remark struck a nerve with Thea, and the two brawled inside the ring, and Hale would get the advantage, countering Perez's crossface with a Kimura lock. Before things went any further, Ridge Holland, who'd secured last week's match for Hale, appeared and pulled Thea out of the submission, allowing Perez to escape with her title. Perez will defend her NXT Women's Championship against Hale at the NXT Great American Bash, which will span 2 nights, starting on Tuesday, July 30th and ending on August 6th. This year's Great American Bash was confirmed during NXT and will be the latest event of its name under the NXT banner in a tradition that's gone on since 2020. At this time, there's no word on which night this will be on, but this will be Thea's first shot at the NXT Women's title since Great American Bash 2023, where she lost to Tiffany Stratton. As for the Prodigy, this will be her 6th televised defense in this second reign as champion, which begun at NXT Stand and Deliver when she dethroned Lyra Valkyria. These two will give it their all at the Great American Bash with the NXT Women's title on the line, and who do you expect will leave the bash with gold in their hands? No matter who emerges as NXT Women's Champion, they could soon find themselves defending against Stephanie Vaquer after she made clear she's joining NXT. After a victory at a live event, Vaquer said, "NXT, see you soon," but the former CMLL Women's World Champion already has one eye on plans on the main roster. While speaking to ESTO in recent interviews, Dominic Mysterio talked about Stephanie Vaquer possibly joining the Judgment Day and gave her an invitation to join the faction, stating, "It is something very excellent for us to have another Latina in WWE, especially having her is something that is going to catch the women's division on fire. She is going to bring something different to this side of the United States. I'm excited to see her. If she wants, she can have something with the Judgment Day. There are 2 Irish, 2 Puerto Ricans, and we hire someone else who comes from Mexico." Stephanie Vaquer took to Twitter and commented on what Dominic had to say, and she teased being on board, stating, "What do you think? I like the idea." Vaquer has already made quite the impression since making her WWE in-ring debut last weekend and is poised to become a big name with or without the Judgment Day. What do you think of what Stephanie Vaquer had to say? Do you want to see her join the Judgment Day? Let us know in the comments section below. On this week's Raw, the Celtic Warrior was attacked by Pete Dunne, severing any sense of loyalty between the two brawling brutes. On Raw Talk, Dunne was asked about the attack and called it a reintroduction to the Bruiserweight and that he is no cornerman for Sheamus or anyone else. Dunne concluded that he's not here to lift people up, but rather tear them down, and he plans to do exactly that now that he's on his own on Monday Night Raw. Dunne's heel turn will go on ahead without Tyler Bate, as it was during a match on the July 2nd edition of NXT against Tank Ledger and Hank Walker that Bate suffered an injury. This setback was confirmed during the following episode of Monday Night Raw, and Fightful reports that the Dunne-Sheamus feud was decided on shortly after Bate's injury. Unfortunately, Bate is not expected to return to WWE for the rest of 2024, and it remains unclear when in 2025 fans can expect to see him back in the ring. All we know is that Bate is on the shelf for the time being, and we're wishing a full and speedy recovery to the first ever WWE United Kingdom champion. Now, Duke Hudson has shown great strength since joining Chase U and has stuck by Andre Chase's side through thick and thin and was rewarded with a North American title match. Of course, this meant stepping in the ring with the impactful Oba Femi on this week's NXT, and both men gave a highly competitive match and showed plenty of in-ring talent. At one point, the 6'5" Hudson paid homage to Trish Stratus as he hit a picture-perfect Stratusfaction on Femi, but that wasn't enough to get the win. Instead, Femi got the win and retained his title, but even in defeat, it feels like this match did a world of good for Hudson, who could find himself in a title match again. We wouldn't be surprised if Duke even finds himself in the NXT title picture down the line, as performances like this one can't be ignored by higher-ups in the Gold brand. Ethan Page had his first title defense since capturing the NXT Championship at Heatwave, and although the champ retained, this wasn't the end of his night. Dante Chen came close to putting the champion away before falling to the Ego's Edge, but after retaining his title, Page was attacked post-match by Oro Mensah. The two men brawled before Mensah turned Page's lights out by hitting his finisher, and while this wasn't a match, made a 3 count to send a clear message. Oro Mensah has an unofficial pinfall over Ethan Page, and if that happens when the title is on the line, then the All-Ego champion stays with the gold may indeed be numbered. During a trios match on the June 15th edition of AEW Collision, the House of Black took on the Guns and Juice Robinson, but things did not go according to plan. During the match, Matthews seemed to injure his knee while executing a Meteora on Robinson, and he quickly clutched his knee and tagged in Brody King. After an ad break, officials escorted Matthews backstage, leaving Black and King at a distinct disadvantage, but the House of Black still secured the win, albeit with an assist from Pac. Understandably, fans were concerned with Matthews and his injury, but PW Insider later reported that this setback was a part of a storyline to write him off of TV. This was done so Matthews could travel to Australia and marry his now wife, Rhea Ripley, but now the House of Black member is ready to make his return. On Instagram, Matthews uploaded a video of himself being taken to the back during Collision last month as he teased returning to AEW with the message, "I hear, I see, I recover." While Matthews is teasing his comeback, it's unclear when exactly it'll happen, as little is known about what AEW has planned for him when he's back. All we know is that Buddy Matthews is coming back, and after the injury he suffered against the Guns and Robinson, the trio have a huge target on their back. When Bray Wyatt returned to WWE, his first feud back would see him face off with LA Knight, though the megastar would unfortunately also serve as Bray's final opponent. It was a few weeks ago that the Wyatt 6 debuted on Raw, and the group pays homage to Bray and have quickly found themselves in a program with Chad Gable. Speaking on the Battleground podcast, LA Knight was asked for his thoughts on the Wyatt 6 and said that without Bray, many at first thought the faction was an odd move. With that said, Knight added that the faction has been so far so good and said the group has legs from what we've seen so far. Like Uncle Howdy, Knight has a connection to Bray, though it is one he may not have ever wanted, and like the fans, LA Knight is interested to see what's next for the Wyatt 6. More from NXT as Tatum Paxley earned her victory over Izzy Dame, and after the match, she was confronted by Wendy Choo, who was all in on her creepy new persona. Choo was holding the body of a Barbie doll and Paxley had the head, and the pair combined the pieces in a spooky moment, potentially teasing a new partnership between them. Later on, Paxley had a brief interaction with NXT Women's North American champion Kalani Jordan and asked Jordan to play with her, but Paxley said they were too old to play with dolls and left. Undeterred, Paxley said she already had someone to play with and revealed a doll resembling Jordan, teasing that she's coming after Kalani and the Women's North American gold. NXT also saw Brooks Jensen compete in his first match since March as the second-generation superstar took on Javon Evans in a grudge match. This match was set up after Jensen apologized for his conduct last week, only to reveal how sorry he really was by ambushing Evans backstage. Josh Briggs, Jensen's former tag partner who had put in a good word for him to be forgiven, accompanied Jensen at ringside for the match. Sean Spears also emerged during the match, which distracted Jensen and allowed Evans to pick up the win, infuriating the already disgruntled Jensen. Brooks tried to attack Evans again after the match, but was pulled away by Briggs, who made clear, "It's my job on the line," adding a new twist to Jensen's story with NXT management. What do you make of more superstars getting involved in Brooks Jensen's story? Where do you think Sean Spears fits into all of this? Let us know your predictions in the comments. Charlie Dempsey interrupted Tony D'Angelo playing a card game with the rest of the family to ask him a question, one that could be bad news for Ren Sinclair. On last week's NXT, it was explained that Damon Kemp had been shoved in the trunk of a car by the other No Quarter Catch crew members, with Dempsey stating that mistakes wouldn't be tolerated. This came shortly after Damon Kemp announced that WWE wasn't renewing his contract and became a free agent, so this was the storyline explanation for why he's disappeared from TV. Just before the No Quarter Catch crew left Kemp stuffed in their trunk, Dempsey noticed that Ren Sinclair was also in the parking lot, but she said she didn't see anything. Despite this, Dempsey was clearly concerned about Sinclair being a witness, and when turning to D'Angelo for help, Tony questioned why he didn't just whack the witness. We'll have to see what's next, but with both Dempsey and the D'Angelo family, Ren Sinclair will be looking to avoid being sent swimming with the fishes in some concrete shoes. More from Cody Rhodes now, who before returning to WWE in 2022 spent years as a top name in AEW, and for a long time seemed he'd be with the company for the rest of his life. Since parting ways with AEW, Cody has been hesitant to speak negatively about the promotion, but did bring up an issue he had during his appearance on the Inside podcast. The undisputed WWE champion explained that while he enjoyed his time with AEW, he felt the final run he had in the company left a lot to be desired, stating, "How AEW ended was terrible, really, and the people are going to write books later on, and these stories are going to get out there, and then it's going to be a whole new ballgame." Rhodes compared this run to 2008's The Dark Knight, as in that film Harvey Dent states that one either dies a hero or lives long enough to see yourself become the villain. Rhodes said that camps within AEW preferred a narrative where he was unwanted and pushed out, portraying him as a villain instead of a hero. Despite this, Rhodes maintained his respect for AEW, emphasizing the challenges of launching the original All In and the exhilaration of AEW's first pay-per-view, Double or Nothing 2019. Rhodes was also grateful for Tony Khan's investment in their vision and made clear that regardless of any internal conflicts, he has an enduring affection for AEW. He highlighted meaningful experiences like wrestling Brody Lee's final match and mentoring young talent behind the scenes, stating that he will always cherish those moments. Cody Rhodes may not be All Elite anymore, but he remembers his final run with AEW fondly, even if his final days left a lot to be desired, according to the undisputed WWE champion. Since arriving in WWE in 2021, Solo Sikoa has been all business, and that's certainly the case with his current role in the Bloodline as the de facto leader of the group. Last week, though, Solo broke character when a fan managed to get photos and videos with him at a Mexico City airport, and in contrast to his on-screen run, Solo was all smiles. In fact, Solo was caught on video breaking his glare to make a goofy face, as the self-professed tribal chief was happy to cut loose when the WWE cameras weren't on him. It was on the March 2nd, 2022 edition of Dynamite that Tony Khan announced that he'd purchased Ring of Honor, and since then, the company has hosted pay-per-views and weekly events. While Khan's purchase likely saved ROH from simply being absorbed into WWE's content library, many have taken issue with his handling of ROH and believe he should do better. From ROH being featured on AEW TV to a lack of stars crossing over to main event programming, the company has not seemed on solid footing since becoming owned by Khan. It appears that there are some in Khan's inner circle who feel the same way, as Fightful Select reports that ROH is expected to have more care put into it, at least in the short term. The upcoming tapings in Arlington, Texas are being seen as a turning point for the promotion, where they can leave the issues of the past behind and focus on what's next. ROH will be getting dedicated taping shows during All Elite Wrestling's residency in Arlington, instead of simply being taped before or after episodes of Dynamite or Collision. One source noted that this should lead to at least more consistent creative, since numerous shows will be filmed across one day instead of spread around for when it suits AEW tapings. Two names fans can expect to see in ROH soon enough is Mason Madden and Mansoor, as the former WWE models were recently hyped in a video package. This report adds that MXM have signed specifically with Ring of Honor, and it's added that more ROH champions will be featured at the upcoming tapings in Arlington. It was only recently that former ROH owner Kerry Silkin spoke against Khan's handling of ROH and said that under Khan's leadership, or lack thereof, ROH isn't being treated well. With that in mind, ROH has a lot to prove, including at Death Before Dishonor on July 26th in Arlington, and do you think ROH's course can be changed? Sound off down in the comments. Lola Vice was able to defeat Jacy Jayne despite having a bruised and bandaged wrist, and after the match, Fallon Henley and Jazmyn Nix attacked Vice. Sol Ruca and Carmen Petrovic made the save, and if WWE want to push the trio of Jayne, Henley, and Nix, this is certainly the wrong way to go about things. Bronco Nima and Lucian Price found an opportunity to control the pace by dominating Luke Gallows, but in the end, the OC defeated OTM with a magic killer. It seems counterproductive for the OC to pick up a win at this moment after both Parker and OTM gained momentum by beating them before, and there's no real end in sight for this feud. And that was NXT, and what did you make of the show? Let us know your thoughts below, and as always, thanks for watching.